Hello world, and welcome to this edition of Tech on Fire with Blaze. I'm Blaze Stewart, architect and Wendellite, and today we're going to be looking at B2C integration with social logons. Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at Azure B2C again, and we're going to be looking specifically at how to integrate third-party IDPs for social logins into Azure B2C, and then you can use these to authenticate users into your application once you have that application configured. So just a quick review of the flow for Azure B2C and how it works. So you have your application and you have it coded and you want to use third-party identities in your application. So rather than configure your application to use all those different third-party identities, you then configure your application to use Azure B2C. Then Azure B2C then can integrate with all of those other third-party IDPs such as Facebook, Twitter, Google, Microsoft accounts, and a couple other ones that we'll see when we go to the portal. And then your user will then go to one of those logins that they choose once they are directed to Azure B2C. They'll select the IDP they want to use, they'll log into it, and then they'll be redirected back to Azure B2C. If it's the first time they've logged in, they'll be validating some of the claims that they have, that is the attributes that they will have associated with their ID, like their name or their email address, whatever it is that you're trying to capture. And once they have that done, they will be redirected back to your application, and then they will be able to log into your application with whatever claims and properties that they were provided into Azure B2C. So it's a pretty basic flow, but we've looked at basically logging in with email up to this point, but today we're going to be looking at how to integrate third-party IDPs such as Facebook, and I think I'm going to use LinkedIn for a demo as well. And then we're going to use our application to log in using both of those, and that will allow us to then create a user profile in Azure B2C and then have that user profile show up inside of our application. I'm here in the Azure portal and I want to configure my external identities to work with my application. So to do that, I'm going to click on identity providers, and this is where I configure all the identity providers I'm going to be using with Azure B2C for the particular identity providers that I want to enable. So you see here I have available a number of different ones I can use: Amazon, Facebook, GitHub, etc. I'm going to choose Facebook for my IDP right here, and I'm going to be using it for the demo. And I'm also going to use LinkedIn. So what I need to do to make this work is go over to Facebook's developer portal and register an application, and then use some of the parameters that's going to provide me so that I can create a client ID and client secret on Facebook. And then I'm going to populate these fields with that information. But I'm going to need these fields to figure out what I'm going to be doing over on my Facebook application. So let's go over to the Facebook developer portal and register an app there. I'm here in the Facebook developer portal. You can go to developer.facebook.com to log into this. I'm going to click on My Apps up here. I currently don't have any apps here. It's because I've removed them all or whatever for other demos that I've done. If you don't have this, if you don't have apps, you're going to see this. If you do have apps, you'll be able to see those, but you can still add new apps. So I'm going to create an app here. I'm going to use it for managing my business. I'm going to click this. I'm going to say it's for my clients, and that is what I'm going to be using here. I need to give it a name. I'm going to go Blaze B2C demo. That's for my app name. And I'm going to say I am not a robot, which I'm not. At least I don't think I'm a robot. Maybe I am. And I'm going to then come over here to my application product page that I can use to get configured for my app. So the one I'm going to be interested in here is Facebook login. I can use these other ones for various integrations. That's not the one I'm interested in. I'm interested in this one. So I'm going to click on Setup under Facebook login, and it's basically going to ask me what kind of platform I'm using. I'm going to be using a web platform, and this is where I'm going to plug in some data from my IDP. So I'm going to get my origin URL. I'm going to plug that in for my site URL here and save it. And then I'm going to continue. I don't need the JavaScript SDK or any of this, and I'm just going to click through all these things and hit get back and so on. So once I have all that configured, I should be able to it should be good to go, and everything will be ready to use, other than some things I need to put into settings right here. So under settings, I need to add a valid OAuth redirect URI. So to do that, I'm going to come over here back to my B2C configuration. I'm going to grab this, copy it. I'm going to paste it right here, and then save the changes for this particular login. So now I have my redirect URI configured and the origin ID URL configured here, I want to go over to my app settings right here under basic to get the app ID and the app secret. And so I'm going to copy this right here. Not everything on the screen, and plug that in here. And this is the display name right here. I'm going to call it Facebook login with Facebook. And for the client secret, I'm going to show this, and I got to enter my password for Facebook to show this. And I'm going to copy that piece of data and plug that under client secret. And I'm going to click save. And this is going to connect Facebook to my IDP here. Now, I'm going to do something very similar to LinkedIn. So let's go over to LinkedIn and set up an application there. So I'm here in the LinkedIn developer portal, and like I had on Facebook, I don't currently have any apps. So I'm just going to create an app here, and I'm going to call it Blaze B2C demo. And then my LinkedIn page, you can just find something on here. So I'm going to put in my blaze.net for my business or whatever. It's my website. I have it available here. And I can put in a privacy URL. It requires that you upload a logo. So I'm going to use my picture for blaze.net. That's my company logo. And I've read the agreement, and I'm going to click create app. So once I have this app created, I now need to enable the actual logins available for this. So to do that, I can come over here, and I can then come over here to auth, and I can see I have my client ID, my client secret. That's what I'm going to plug into my settings over here under B2C. So let's click on LinkedIn and set this up, and I can then call this one login with LinkedIn, and that's my client ID. And I'm going to get my client secret here. I'm going to show that. And I'm going to plug that into this one right here. And I'm going to now need this callback URL right here, so that I can put that into my LinkedIn app right here. So to do that, I'm going to edit this. And I'm going to add a URI, and that's my callback URI. There's one more thing I need to do inside of LinkedIn, and that's to come over here to products right here and select sign in with LinkedIn. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to add this product so that it will enable the login with this, even though the auth is already configured. Now that that's in progress, I should be able to use it. Now I need to click save under my LinkedIn login so that these settings will be written into my Azure B2C tenant here. And I should be able to see that I have login with Facebook and login with LinkedIn both configured, and I still have my email login enabled as well. So now I've got my IDPs configured right here. I can log in with Facebook and LinkedIn. I need to connect those to the policy. So I'm going to come over here to that policy I configured in last week's demo. I'm going to come into this, and I'm going to click on identity providers. I currently only have email signup enabled. So I'm going to click on Facebook and LinkedIn now that these are configured and save them. I don't have to do anything additionally to my code now for my application. I can just launch my application as it was without changing the application, and then I should be able to log in with Facebook or LinkedIn or with an email address into the same application. So I'm going to let these take effect. It usually takes a couple of minutes for these settings to propagate out to the identity servers on Azure. So as soon as that happens, I'm going to open up my application in Visual Studio and run it, and I should be able to log in with both LinkedIn, Facebook, and my email account. So here's the application that I was running last week for our demo. I'm not going to walk you through how to set this up. If you want to, I will refer you to the link in the video description below so that you can do a review of how to set the application up. I'm simply just going to start it up and see what happens. So it's going to start up a .NET Core application, and it should launch a browser window right here. And I'm already signed in, so I'm going to click sign out. And I'm going to come over here to click on home, and this should redirect me back over to my login so I can log back in. So notice what I have here. I can log in with the email address that I had set up with this last week, or I can log in with either Facebook or LinkedIn. So I'm going to choose Facebook, and what this is going to do is going to kick me over to Facebook, and now I can log in with Facebook, and I can say continue as Blaze, and because I'm already logged into Facebook, and then that's going to then redirect me back over to Azure B2C. It's going to basically validate, do these claims make sense? And I'm going to click continue for these claims because it got those from Facebook. And then it's going to write that information over to my profile on Azure B2C. And now I'm logged into my application using Facebook. So I'm going to sign out one more time, and I'm going to log in again with LinkedIn this time. Okay, I'm back in Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and start my app back up, and let's go ahead and log in with my LinkedIn profile now. So this is going to bring me back into that login page. I'm going to click on login with LinkedIn right here, and then it's going to ask me to put in my password for LinkedIn, and I'm going to sign in right here with LinkedIn, and then say allow B2C demo to access my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to click allow, and it's going to validate my name right here. I have my name in Thai right here that says Blaze Stewart in Thai, and I did that so it'd be unique. And then I'm gonna click continue. That's validating it with B2C. And now I'm back in my application now, logged in with my LinkedIn profile at this time. So if I go to sign out again, and then I went back to home and I clicked on Facebook, it's not going to go back to B2C to validate me. I can just easily switch between these accounts, and I can then log in with LinkedIn without having to revalidate every time as well, because I'm already logged in with both of those. So you can see here, it's very easy to set this up. And once you have it, I don't have to really reconfigure my application to use anything. I can just use my application with B2C and then configure all the IDPs there. And it becomes very easy to log in and out of my application using Azure B2C, which then will integrate with all of these social logins that we have available. If you like this content, please consider visiting us online at www.wintellect.com, and there you can find about services that Wintellect offers, including training and consulting services. Also, please consider subscribing to this channel by clicking on the subscribe button and clicking the bell icon to get notifications when new content becomes available, and also comment down below. You can also follow me on Twitter at @TheOneMule, and also follow Wintellect on Twitter at WintellectNow or at Wintellect. We are constantly posting things about Azure-related technologies and things related to software development. You can also reach us by email at consulting@wintellect.com. Until next time, thank you.